Welcome. I think we just had one more person join and we will go ahead, unless there are any other CAT announcements that we need to make very quickly. We will go ahead and get started. So thanks everyone for joining. My name is Morgan Boykin and I am our community and volunteer coordinator here at SC Codes. Chris is joining on. Hey, Chris. So we are really excited to have so many folks jumping on our volunteer call today. We try to host these monthly, maybe every other month, but this is probably one of our biggest groups. So thank you so much for joining. We hope that you're going to leave really excited about volunteering with us. I work directly with our volunteers and with our learners who are looking to connect with you. So I can thank you on behalf of them as well, that I know they're excited to connect with some great folks. With us today is Alex Martin, who you're going to hear from a little bit later, who's our technical lead at SC Codes. So all of those in the weeds, down and dirty technical questions, Alex is going to help me answer, as well as do a walk of our platform so you can get kind of familiar with that. And then Katie Miller, who's our program director and kind of oversees all things SC Code. So we will jump right into our presentation and I'll give Katie and Alex a chance to jump in just a little bit later, but just so we can get rolling, I am going to share my screen. And if you will do the thumbs up for me when you can see it. Awesome. There we go. And welcome to all those who are joining. So again, we are SC Codes. So excited to have you here with us. I'm sure all of you know a bit about SC Codes since you're here, but just a very high level overview. We are a supportive, mentor-led learning community for anyone who is interested in learning to code, skilling up, or working as a professional programmer in South Carolina. So as you have visited our website, I'm sure you see all of the wonderful things that we offer for learners who are a part of our program, including a totally free, I'll keep saying that word because I think that's what is such a game changer about our program, totally free online curriculum, virtual and hopefully soon some in-person courses for our learners to take, monthly events that we'll talk about a little bit later that are supported by our mentors, career support. So as learners are working through our curriculum, the goal is of course to get them where you are with jobs as professional software developers, guest lecturers and mentors. That is the biggest part of our program. So we're mentor led and learner facing. So everything we do is supporting our learners getting from coming onto our platform and maybe not knowing much about tech, much about being a software developer, all the way to helping to get them the skills they need to compete for jobs in South Carolina. So looking a little bit about who our learners are, you'll hear us say that word all the time. We're talking about our learners. How do we help them? How do we support them? This is kind of a breakdown of our genders and age range, which is really exciting to see on our platform, that we are have a few more women on our platform, which we know is not always represented in the tech community. So a big part of what we do here at SC Codes is breaking down those barriers for learners across the platform, whether it be race, ethnicity, socioeconomic level, education level. We want to be that equalizer to help learners come onto our platform and feel ready to or comfortable with the skills that they have to compete with jobs in connection to the skills and support that they're getting from you as our mentors. So just a little bit more information there on who those learners are. We'll talk a little bit more about what they look like as we go on, and feel free, I think Alex put that in our chat somewhere. Feel free to jump in with any questions or thoughts as we go along, and we'll address those as well. So our focus today is really again, to thank you for being interested in volunteering with us as a mentor, and to talk a little bit about what that means on our platform. So we'll talk about how volunteers support our learners across our platform. We will talk a little bit about upcoming opportunities, do some question and answer to get you comfortable with hopefully taking the next step in volunteering with us, and get to know a little bit more about you as well as volunteers. So, meat and potatoes of why we are here today. So our volunteer roles, the mentors. So you'll hear us say mentors, and that really is kind of like the umbrella term for all of our volunteers across our platform. So mentors support our volunteers. Mentors support our learners in different ways. So we're going to chat a little bit about how all of those work. So let's start with our Slack mentors. So we are on Slack, as I'm sure a lot of you are. We are on Slack with our learners, we're on Slack as a team, and we're on Slack as a mentor group. So our learners are able to connect with mentors or volunteers through Slack. So as they're working through courses on our platform, which we'll dive into a little bit later, they can throw in questions as they have them. And our mentors, we have some who are just Slack mentors, and they are in our Slack channel, and they help answer those questions as they come up. So it is a really kind of low touch way to support our learners. Definitely at your availability, as you see something that comes across that you know the answer to, particularly you're interested in or want to dive a bit deeper into with the learners, feel free to jump in, answer that question, and kind of be done. And that's a huge way to help our learners and help move them along in the process of working through our platform. So one way to support is being a Slack mentor. We hope that everybody does this, and they also do some additional stuff as well. But if this is kind of all you're available to do right now, we'd love to have you in our Slack community as well. One-on-one mentor. So this is a big one for us. As our learners are working through their curriculum, as they're working through the courses on SC Codes, they can request a one-on-one mentor. They usually do that through me. They reach out to me, they let me know that they're kind of struggling through a particular course. And I find a mentor in our program who is an expert at that language, an expert at that course, and I pair them together, and you all decide what that relationship and rhythm looks like, whether it's something that you are doing weekly, whether it's something that you're doing every day, whether it's something that you are doing once a month or as often as the learner needs it. It really is your own relationship to build, but that is your person per se, and an additional layer of support for our learners through their coursework. We have been really fortunate this year to have some really, I say this year, I guess since I joined in October, to have some really great one-on-one pairings where the learner felt super supported, the mentor felt like they were really giving back in a really meaningful way, and it's just a cool relationship to see. So another big way that you can support our learners, definitely something that's probably a mid-level touch, something that's got a little bit more rhythm to it, a little bit more routine, and another big way to help our learners. We also have a guest lecturer, and we have since October been really fortunate to have some really cool guest lectures come on our platform as well. And so this is where you can share a particular topic that you are interested in, a particular trend that you're seeing that you're interested in the industry, and share that with our learners through a webinar. So if you visit our events page or our SC Codes YouTube page, you can see some of those previous talks that we've had. We've had an Elixir webinar, a Road Less Travel, Women in Tech. We've had several different topics that mentors have covered for us, and they've been really great, and our learners have gotten a lot out of those. Another kind of low touch volunteer opportunity, and we're always looking to fill our schedule with folks who are interested in doing that. We also have a guest blogger. So if you've been on our website, you see that we have a blog, and we are in the process of kind of revamping that. We really want it to be focused on the industry and a resource for our learners to go on there, kind of see what is interesting to you all. I know, and I am not the tech person, but in a lot of the conversations we've had, AI has been something that has come up a lot. And so it'd be really cool to have a blog post on that. So anything that is, again, sparking your interest, we'd love to have you write for our blog. We'll post that and share some of your thoughts with our learners as well. Some of the two bigger ones. So teaching assistant and course instructor. Of course, those go kind of hand in hand and are somewhat self-explanatory, but so we have courses on our platform. Learners come in, they take courses, and we are always looking for our mentors, right? You guys are in the industry and know what's going on there, and obviously know these languages. We're obviously always looking for our mentors to serve as course instructors. And that process is super easy as well and flexible with your schedule. Alex is going to take us through our courses and our platform in just a little bit so you can see kind of what's offered there. But learners mentors, let us know courses that they're interested in teaching. We schedule it based on your availability. And as we move to more in-person things, hopefully soon, availability with the site partners as well that will host these courses at. But they are varying in duration. So some may be a couple of weeks, some may be one night courses, kind of all over the board with time commitment there, but always a need for us. This summer, we are hopefully having a summer of learning. We're pushing out a couple of courses, want to have a couple of courses on the calendar every month. So we would love to get you in as a course instructor for those. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through the platform. And then a teaching assistant. A teaching assistant. So maybe if you're not quite ready to take on the load of teaching the course, but you want to support the course, we would love to have you as a teaching assistant working with one of the course instructors. That's either in the course environment, so as you're teaching, working with the teacher as they are teaching, or supporting in office hours. So maybe you are hanging out in Slack, you're going to say that between 2 and 3, you would like to host office hours or have a Zoom link open for office hours, and our learners are able to come with you that way. That's another way to support our courses as well. So I know I just threw a ton of information your way as far as different ways to volunteer with us. In my follow-up email to you, I'll kind of repeat all of this, but wanted to definitely open the floor for any questions on any of these particular volunteer roles. But I think as we walk through the platform a bit, that may spark your questions and spark some interest on different ways for you to get involved. So I'm going to turn it over to Alex now to go through our platform, but please feel free to throw any questions in the chat as we go along.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Morgan. Yeah, and thanks everybody for coming out today and sharing your lunch break with us here.
Yeah.
I'm going to share my screen if Morgan will allow me to do so.
I did. Oh.
Let's see. Or if somebody else wants to pull up the SC Code site and share their screen, I'm happy to walk through that way.
Sure. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Morgan.
No problem.
So the big thing I want to highlight while we're pulling things up here is that the mentor experience on our platform is really similar to the student experience. And that's intentional. We don't want to give you something super confusing that looks really different from what your learners are using and what other folks are using. So you're going to see the same content. You're going to have access to the same resources. We may make an additional mentor guide available to you as a course, so you kind of get some extra tips and tricks. But overall, the content that you see and the process you go through to enroll in a course and work through that course is going to be the same as what our students experience. So yeah, awesome. Thank you, Morgan. What you're seeing here is our course library. And this is a list of all the courses that are available. If you look there at the top of the page, there's a big bright purple bar you can't miss. And there's a link that says courses. And that's how you or students will get to this page. Go to courses, you sign in, and you'll see all of our classes that are available. We break our content up into 3 levels, what we call concepts, basics, and applications. Concepts are really short classes. For y'all with some technical acumen already, these are a few hours, maybe an afternoon or maybe a whole afternoon or evening. And they're just a way to get your feet wet. They're a way to introduce a language, introduce the basic concepts of programming, things like what's a variable, what's a function. And in all of these, there's a project. There's something you're going to build so that you have something you can walk away with and say, hey, I wrote some code. One really nice thing about our concepts courses is that they're all based in the browser. So it doesn't matter if you're on an old Windows 95 computer or if you're on the Windows 11 beta. It doesn't matter if you're on Mac or Linux. You can run these in the browser. You can write real code. You can evaluate it. You can see it happen. So it's really, really good boost for students. We move from concepts up to our basics classes. And our basics classes are a little more involved. They're going to be more like maybe a week for y'all with a little more experience. For new learners, it may be a few weeks. For our virtual cohorts, which Morgan mentioned, you could come in as an instructor or kind of a TA for, we actually run basics classes over 6 weeks. So these are courses where there's a lot more meat. They're going to cover usually more than one language or a more complex topic. And these may require you to install some things locally. In the case of our front-end basics course, you don't have to. In the case of our Ruby basics course, we do encourage you to go ahead and install it and get used to it. Basics are a good way to kind of bring somebody on who wants to learn a little more and wants to dig a little deeper, but maybe isn't ready for a major commitment. So this is somebody who's really still exploring. Our last level of course is the applications level. And these are the big bad courses. Applications level courses would take even the most experienced of us a week or more to complete. There's lots of projects. There's lots of live code. There is going to be some installation and some management on your own. And there's a lot less hand-holding in these classes, which is where you as a mentor really come in. Is as students take these classes on, they're going to have questions. They're going to want help. They're going to have setup issues and try to be understanding things more in depth. And your experience and your ability to help in whatever way you can is what's going to make students successful here. So our applications level courses are big and bold and have lots of really good content, but they're not for the faint of heart. If you've got somebody who's a little bit timid and not sure about programming, we wouldn't recommend dropping them into applications. Maybe put them through concepts and let them explore the fundamentals before we move into things like local installations and object-oriented programming theory. Other things we can offer on the platform, because we do have some control here, is if you're teaching a class, we can create a custom cohort for you. So if you have an idea for a course and you wanted to kind of put some content together, we can help facilitate that. If you want to hold one of our recommended courses, but you want to do it with a small group, we can help organize the platform for you to facilitate that. Really, we mentioned in our mission early on, Morgan said there, we're mentor-led. And I think that's important to remember is we really are mentor-led. What the resources that you need and the things that you want to help other people be successful, we're going to work hard to give you those things and to make that happen. If you ever have any questions about this, you can always hit us up on Slack. That's the easiest way to get in touch here. But I also encourage you to just log in and explore if you haven't already. You really can't make any mistakes on the platform. If you can take it down, that's a bigger problem that we need to talk about. But certainly you can come in and explore and try content, try classes, and see what the student experience is like. And that's going to help you to facilitate learners and help answer questions because you get that same experience too. Does anybody have any questions right away about the content we offer or kind of how to get into the platform? Yeah, so John asked a really good question here in the Zoom chat about a Python course. Again, we're mentor-led. Python is something we've had requests for. We don't have any content generated for it. But John, I'd love to pair up with you and work on putting together some content. Maybe we could start with a concepts course and see what interest is like and potentially build out more. So yeah, if you have interest in any other technical area that you have a lot of expertise with and you'd like to help us generate content, please reach out to me or to Caleb, and either of us can kind of help get you on that path and start building out the resources we need there. Yep, and Reed, that I think that falls in the same camp. Functional programming, we've had a lot of interest in Elixir. We haven't, I don't think, had any interest in Scala, but I'm open to it. And certainly if you want to test the waters, that might be a good candidate for a webinar, just to see what kind of interest we have before we dive into building out content.
Alex, is it okay to just ask a verbal question?
Of course, go for it.
Okay. The foundation behind all of this is actually like Mentor from South Carolina content. Is there any sort of platform like another Learn to Code platform or like a Pluralsight or something like that the organization has ever thought about sort of pulling sort of existing courses from, like rather than sort of starting from curriculum development? A lot of that probably already exists out there.
Yeah, that's a really great question. So we don't restrict learners to our content. Our content is a springboard. It's a jumping off point. I've recommended lots of people out to Free Code Camp. Pluralsight's a great example. Linda's another one. Did Pluralsight buy them yet? I'm sure they've tried.
I think Linda was bought by like LinkedIn or something like that.
LinkedIn. Oh, okay. Well, I figured somebody would get them. So yeah, those platforms are out there and we certainly recommend students out to them. Our goal is to facilitate learners whatever the best way we can is. In terms of hosting content, our content platform is built around Pathwright, which is actually a company headquartered out of Greenville. We really do try to work with South Carolina companies as much as we can too. We haven't, I don't think, explored bringing in third-party content to Pathwright, but I'm sure that's an option. And if that's something you have experience with or something you have a recommendation for, I'd love to chat.
Yeah.
Anything we can do to build our library is a great idea.
I guess maybe like the follow-on question is, does that mean that Pathwright already has some course content that as we start to talk about, hey, let's add a Scala or functional programming or something else, it already kind of exists in the Pathwright system and it's a matter of sort of pulling those modules in? No.
No,
it's
so
all-
Pathwright is just an LMS. They don't have
Okay.
any sort of like pre-built library.
It's just-
so we built
just the
all our
software.
content from the start.
Okay.
Can I want to mention, you mentioned Linda. I don't know if everybody's aware, but if you are a resident of Charleston County and you have a library card,
Mhm.
you can access Linda's courses for free. It's kind of hard to find the interface, but
Yeah, and that's something we've helped some students do as well. There are lots of, we are partnered with public library systems, and that's where we used to do our in-person meetings, and hopefully we'll be doing those again soon. Morgan or Katie may have some more input on that later, but we have encouraged people to use those resources. So we're not, especially as a mentor, please don't feel like you have to say, well, you have to take the SC Codes Concepts course. If you know a good resource and you've got a student who's eager and you want to help them learn Golang, like let's get them there. Let's springboard them into it. We are not limiting them to our platform. This is just a place to start.
And I have a question for you all. If you could throw your location in the chat, I'm just curious kind of where everyone is located. Gives us a good idea especially when it comes to some revamp of some in-person courses and different things like that. It's always good to kind of know where everyone is in the state. Awesome. Greenville, Lexington, Charleston, Columbia.
Travelers Rest.
All right. Awesome. Because we are a spread out team as well. I'm in Charleston.
Yeah.
I'm
in Columbia.
Alex and Caleb are upstate Greenville.
Yeah, and Caleb joined our call too. He's a part of our team. So I don't know if I introduced you earlier, Caleb, but thanks for joining.
Caleb
Ethan.
used to be in Charleston.
I did indeed. Yes. Back in Greenville now.
Wonderful.
I'm technically in North Carolina, so I don't know how SC Codes works with that. But if you're cool, I've been trying to get involved with SC Codes for a few years now. I came back. I was up in Chicago for a while, and I'm down in Charlotte. So how does that work?
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
Yes.
we're glad to have you back, and we'd love to have you work with us. I think Morgan can probably tell you more about like how to come in as a mentor, but we don't have any sort of gates on the platform for you being in Charlotte.
Yeah.
Cool, very cool.
Yes, and we can definitely connect on ways for you to plug in. I think with us being in this virtual environment, still there's lots of opportunity. So we'll definitely follow up and connect with you on that.
And we do have a presence in like York County and like Rock Hill area.
Mhm.
So that would be, if you did want to do something in person, you wouldn't have too far to go.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm over near that area.
Nice. Awesome. Let me see if I can get back to there. Awesome. So can you all see my screen? Is that working? Okay, perfect. Any other questions, thoughts, ideas on our platform, curriculum, before we jump back into mentoring? Thanks, Alex, so much for sharing that also. Cool. So what's next? Talk a little bit about next steps in a second, but just thinking on ways for you to get connected pretty quickly with some things that we have coming up. If you've looked at our YouTube page or social media, we do these things called Mentor Mondays, and we just love to showcase kind of who's in our network, who is a mentor with us, who is volunteering with us, and we do that through Mentor Mondays, where we just kind of shout you out across our profile, across our social media profiles. Really simple, headshot, where you work, what you do, what you're passionate about, who you're looking to connect with across our platform. So we're looking for more of those folks throughout the summer. So that's an opportunity there. We have a new series called Ask a Developer, which premieres, sounds like we're on TV, which premieres on our YouTube channel, on our Instagram Live channel. So we are always looking for folks to interview There we have some really great spotlights that have happened and that are coming up. So if you're interested in that, that is just a chance for our learners to ask questions about what it's like to be a developer. We have some set questions that we just like to get out that bit of information to our learners and communities. So if you're interested in that, we'd love to have you there. As I mentioned, summer courses. We're excited about opening up summer courses and would love to have you as an instructor if that's something that you're passionate about, as well as a TA if that's something that you're passionate about. We, like I've said before, are hoping to get in person in some of our sites across the state. It's looking like that'll be kind of early fall-ish for most of those partners, but who knows? Might be able to open up a bit sooner at some of those spaces. So if you are comfortable with or interested in some in-person opportunities, we'd love to chat with you about that. And then our blog that we are working on as well. If you've got some ideas off the top of your head that you'd love to get out on virtual paper, we'd love to have them housed on our blog. So any ideas there we're open to as well. Just did our Q&A. Next steps from here. So I'm going to send a follow-up email to everyone who is on our call today. Just kind of gauging how you feel about volunteering with us. If you're interested in moving forward, in joining our Slack channel, there'll be an opportunity to do that in that email. I'd also love to talk with you one-on-one if you want to take it a step further and connect as a one-on-one mentor, share as a guest lecturer, blog, whatever it is that you want to do, but would love to talk with you a little bit more. Once you get onto once you become a mentor, become a volunteer, we have a volunteer portal now that's really cool, hosted by Logistics. So I'll prompt you to set up that volunteer portal, and in there is where I share volunteer opportunities as well as where you can track your hours, learn what's coming up next, see a calendar view, sync it to your calendar, all that good stuff. So would love to have you in that volunteer portal. And then in the meantime, if you check our event calendar, if you're just still kind of on the fence about us in general and just want to see kind of what we do and how we work, our event calendar is currently pretty full. We've got a lot of stuff coming up. So plug into any of those events, check out what we have coming up. I think Chris, who is on our call, is actually going to be featured on one of those events as well. So please get involved there, but I'll open it up to any final questions or thoughts that you may have on mentoring our platform or SC Codes as a whole. So feel free to throw it in the chat, jump off mute, any of that for the next couple of minutes. And Katie or Caleb or Alex or anyone else, if you have anything you want to share, definitely jump in now as well.
Morgan, I was going to jump in real quick. Just as a little advertisement, next week on Wednesday, I think, June 30th, we are doing our first Ruby Basics course, and that'll be virtually. So if anyone is interested in just seeing how we run a virtual course, this would be a great place to get some experience and just learn what it's like. And we would give you all the slide presentations and all the examples and everything that we would use. So just a little plug for that.
Thanks, Caleb. Yes. Perfect.
And I'll just, I'm sorry, I was gonna say, I'll take a
go ahead.
moment if I, to introduce myself a little bit more. As Morgan mentioned, I'm the program director. And so I am just so excited and grateful for each and every one of you that has joined our call today. This has just been the biggest group we've had so far, and it seems like it's just gaining a lot of momentum, and we truly could not do even a fraction of the things that we do and the ways that we support students and the differences that we get to make in people's lives without you all and without our volunteer mentors. So yeah, just wanted to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts.
I had a thought. Can SC Code students qualify for student membership in ACM? That's the Association for Computing Machinery, which I hope most of the people on this meeting know about.
I don't know what that is. I'll just confess.
Really?
I am not familiar, but
Could you
we are
share?
not, yeah, we're not
Wow.
accredited, so I don't know if that has some
Pardon? Say,
bearing on that.
the ACM is the Association for Computing Machinery. It's the largest professional computer association in the world. They have, members have access to extensive online course materials and books. And the last I knew of a student membership is $19 a year. So that's a really great deal for students. When I was teaching, I used to recommend that to my students, but I don't know if they would qualify for student membership as SC Code students. I think they should, but so you can look at their website and check it
Yeah.
out. It's acm.org.
Yeah, we can definitely dig into that and see if that's an option for our students.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah, I might have missed this on the course page. But does SC Codes offer like interview coaching or courses on interviewing or resume prep, things like that for the students who are in?
I am so glad you asked. Morgan, I don't want to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, well, that's where you all come in, is a big support for our students as well. So once they are paired with a mentor, that's definitely a portion of that mentoring relationship that we really encourage, whether it be portfolio review, just soft skills coaching in general with interview prep. It's definitely something that we encourage in your relationship with your student, with your learner. And it's also something that we support through our webinars. So that's definitely a topic that we're looking at. I believe we have had some kind of touches on as well. So yes, definitely something that we support, and the opportunity is there for you to jump in if that's a particular passion of yours.
And I'll just add to that not yet done, but in the next iteration of our website, we're going to be having some specific pathways for folks who are just kind of here exploring and just kind of want to see what coding is, what it can do. We're going to have a pathway for those who really want to change their career. We're going to have an upskiller pathway. So you're already in the industry and just want to add something to your, resume. And then we're going to have a career support, so job readiness. And so we are actually going to be building out some courses and curriculum around the interview and the job prep, soft skills side of things. Right now, we are just doing them very one-off and providing resources and help as requested, but we are working on formalizing that.
Cool, very cool. I'm an expert at rejection, so I have quite a few interviews in my day. I'd be happy to share.
An expert at rejection sounds like a great webinar talk.
Yeah,
that's a great
I
thing.
think we're going to hold this one. I'm writing this one down, and we'll be in touch on part 1.
That is so
Please do.
important and something we hear all the time. It's because, it's a frustrating process, especially to land that first job in tech. So I love that topic and I love that name. So yeah, we need to make that happen.
I think we have
I
a
will be
blog
happy.
post.
Happy to help.
Yeah, I was going to say we have a blog post on landing that first tech job, but I think that would be a great mirror topic to that, is handling the first tech rejection. Awesome. Any other questions, thoughts, follow-ups, as we have a couple more minutes to hang on here, a couple more minutes rather before we wrap?
I do have a question. I feel bad asking because I was definitely late, but it's around time commitment of volunteer mentor status. I heard you talking about office hours and things like that. What are you guys looking for in time commitments for your volunteers?
So it's going to vary based on what it is that you're doing. So if it's that one-on-one relationship, that's kind of on you and what the student is going to need, and you guys are going to build that own rhythm. So weekly for an hour, daily for 30 minutes, whatever that looks like for your schedule, your availability, and then the learner need. The guest lecturer webinar stuff is going to be kind of like that one-time hour-long virtual commitment, if you will, or in person when we're in person. And then blogger, is going to depend on how long it takes you to come up with content, us do those edits and rough drafts and get those posted. So it really is going to vary on what the volunteer need is. From lowest kind of time commitment is going to be that Slack support mentor, and then highest is going to be that course instructor for some of those heavy hitting course loads. So really going to vary and kind of run the gamut based on what it is that you're doing with us. But in that follow-up email, I'll have more on what those loose time commitments look like for each role. Does that answer that question?
100%. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Cool. Yeah.
I had a question. I've got young kids where time out of the house is not always an option. I was wondering how long you're thinking things are going to be virtual. Is that kind of ongoing? Everything's always virtual, or is there a point where if I make a commitment, it's going to require me to, to go somewhere to do that?
Yeah. Katie, do you want to jump in there?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do think that we will continue to do some form of virtual course, even when we are doing in-person courses as well, simply because it's been so successful through the pandemic and not everybody is close to a site partner. So so if that's something you're specifically interested in leading, is that virtual course or virtual session, we will absolutely be happy to schedule that.
I think Reed had asked about, being a volunteer mentor in Charlotte. What are the stipulations or are there stipulations on like learners? And obviously it would seem that South Carolina residents sort of take first priority. Is it available to others who might happen to be outside of South Carolina?
So technically, yes. We do have it limited if you are out of the country, your IP address is out of the country, that, you won't be able to sign up. I mean, there are workarounds obviously to that, but we definitely encourage it to be mainly focused on South Carolina residents, just simply because we're a very small team. And we want to be able to focus our efforts here at home. And we are grant funded by the South Carolina Department of Commerce, specifically to help the workforce in our state. So that being said, we also target, even in our marketing, to like Augusta and Charlotte and like a couple places, some of those bigger cities, like right outside of our border. So student wise, we really encourage them to be in the state. And those are, when it comes to especially like the one-on-one mentorship, because that's such a time, such a commitment, we do typically want them to be in South Carolina. So because it takes, some time and it's effort, and we want to make sure we're concentrating that where our mission and vision is. So we don't necessarily turn you away if you are not from the state, but it is going to limit your availability for mentorship and some other things that are more personalized.
Gotcha. Thank you.
I want to highlight too, because I'm a remote employee, have been for a while, and I know the market is pretty wild around that. Our goal is to highlight South Carolina as a great place to work and somewhere that is offering these resources. That doesn't necessarily mean if you're in Charlotte and we can offer you great jobs in South Carolina, that's a way to kind of boost our profile and help us out and show that this is a nice place to be, and maybe not somewhere people would think of right away in the very much New York, California, maybe like Austin and Denver market. So that's kind of our goal, and anything we can do to help boost that profile is something we're going to lean into.
Do you guys work with companies like as far as hiring candidates, any sort of placement programs, or you mentioned being funded by the state? Like, I don't know how to really say it, but one of the reasons why I'm in Charlotte is just because of the job market. And the reason why I'm in SC Codes today is because like South Carolina, like I'm from South Carolina, but we can't actually move back, like it's just not feasible, like the tech industry. Obviously, we're not going to hit Silicon Valley, we're not going to hit New York, like Austin or Seattle. We're not going to get those salaries in South Carolina, but like, is that a thing that SC Codes is trying to remedy as far as job placement? Because I know everyone's remote right now, and like, I don't know why South Carolina as a state isn't like, we need to be offering like incentives to move people, bring tech to the state, because like that's something that I would like to be a part of, is trying to bring tech to the state. Is that's a question?
Not
Sorry.
take over conversation. No, that's a great, and that's something that we are all very interested in and very like trying to monitor pretty much at all times. And there is a surprising number of tech businesses in our state, but there is not enough talent currently. So it's very hard for us to be like, hey, new tech company, come to South Carolina. We don't have the workforce, but come here anyways. So we're really trying to attack it from that side. Like, let's get a good workforce of tech talent here in our state. And then we hope that that'll be a piece of that draw in of more industry. Obviously, we're very heavy in like manufacturing, we've got BMW and Volvo and all of those things. But, here in Charleston and in Greenville and Columbia, it's definitely like those are the core spots where it's really growing. We're referred to in Charleston as the Silicon Harbor. And so there are, I think, over 6,000 tech related businesses in the state. So the jobs are here. But we're hearing consistently from employers that they have to hire from outside of the state, or they're going to have to move, only to remote workers. But kind of on the flip side of that, because remote work has taken has like really proved itself through the pandemic, we also don't have to necessarily worry about just our learners getting employed in South Carolina. We'd love for them to stay in South Carolina, but as long as they're spending their money in South Carolina, like it's a win. But the cost of living is much better here than a lot of those places. But I may have gotten a little off track there. Hopefully that answered your question, but essentially tech is becoming more, not the hub that Charlotte is necessary, or, parts of North Carolina, but we're definitely getting there, I think.
And I'll just add to that too, Katie, one way that we, without a kind of formal job placement program, address that is by showcasing and highlighting tech companies in South Carolina through our events. So for example, Ask a Developer, which is coming up soon, is highlighting Colin Griffin, who is with Crumware, which is a local downtown Columbia tech company. So we're really trying to highlight things that are happening in South Carolina through our mentors, which is another way that we hope to kind of advocate for that tech talent through South Carolina. So that was for me.
Can I throw something in that might be related? The last place where I taught had a corporate advisory board that met annually, and they would get together with department heads. It was mostly computer related stuff, but there were some different departments. And they would meet with representatives from local companies who would come up with ideas about what they would like graduates from the school to have experience with. So I was kind of, I don't know if that's
a big part of what we do. And so we currently have we have a board that is from a lot of tech companies in the state. And then we also are working on very specific Columbia, Greenville, Charleston. Again, those kind of tend to be the hubs. So that's where we're focusing and where our team is. So we're actually in the process of building local advisory committees in each of those cities. But everything that we do, all the courses that we offer, we are very, very ingrained in with tech companies here throughout the state, simply because if we weren't, we wouldn't know what to teach. We wouldn't know where to send students. We wouldn't know what to, expect. And so we hear from employers constantly about like what they're looking for in their new hires. So that's one of the big pieces of who we are.
I'm sorry to have exposed my ignorance, but I'm glad to hear that that's happening.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I see Kathy in the chat. And so Reed, I may have misinterpreted your question. She was hearing that question as, are we doing anything to improve South Carolina salaries and benefits in order to be an incentive to bring workers to the state? We are not really, I don't know if part of that process, that's not one of our focuses. I mean, from a standpoint of versus cost of living, I mean, salaries are pretty good here. Starting out, it's 55 to 60 as a junior developer. And so, especially with the more rural areas in our state, if you are working remote, you can live for pretty cheap and make a pretty decent wage.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
would.
it's definitely both of those. I mean, it definitely covered both of that. I didn't know if y'all were partnering with companies for new hires and stuff like that. Like it is definitely a cost of living battle, right? Like I've seen it living in a big city and coming from Greenville, and so like I've seen it. I just didn't know. I don't know how you guys would battle that. I just know you mentioned you're working with the state, and I feel like the state can't control budget of private companies, but if they could incentivize companies, people to move here, the talent pool would get larger. Like if we could incentivize people getting to South Carolina, it's just a big hurdle that I've had, honestly, in the last year trying to get into South Carolina is finding a company proximity to that, just met the accommodations.
Yeah, there may be efforts in that area, but we specifically are working on that homegrown talent. So there are people here that want these jobs and that, could easily, with a little bit of training, be taking on these roles. So that's really our laser focus, is getting the people that already live here equipped with the skills that they need to enter into that tech workforce.
Cool. Very cool. Thank you.
Great questions, everyone. I think there was an answer to Kathy's question there in the chat as well. So I think I said that a couple of times, but if we have any final questions just on kind of next steps with our mentoring program, volunteer program, or just SC Codes in general, we'll definitely take those to the chat or in person. But if not, we are really, as Katie said, grateful for you all being here and excited about the number of folks joining into our SC Codes community. So please stay tuned for that. Follow-up email, definitely respond there. And we are looking for ways for you to connect with our learners with all these great ideas and all of the other experiences that you'll bring to us as well. So thank you. We're excited to have you as well. So if there are not any other questions, we'll hang around for a bit. But if there are, throw them in. But thank you again for being here. I look forward to seeing you across our platform and